Before we begin, meet our quiet hero, the thermometer. Born centuries ago as a delicate glass tube, it measured temperature in homes and even on battlefields, where each degree could mean life or death. From candlelit labs to the front lines of history's fiercest conflicts, it has silently recorded the world's heat and cold. Now, resting in our hands, it sits mysteriously silent. But before we can bring it back to life, we must uncover what silenced it. Today we'll follow the clues and reveal the story hidden within its fragile glass. The first thought that naturally comes to mind, in the simplest and most instinctive way, is to check what's happening inside by looking at the power source. It sounds obvious, almost too ordinary to matter, yet this very assumption often lies at the heart of the problem. Among countless complex possibilities, this is the mistake most people make without realizing it, again and again. So the most sensible choice right now is to try a fresh coin battery, not to rush to a conclusion, but to confirm whether the issue truly comes down to power, because more often than not, the answer is simpler than we expect. Fortunately, once the new batteries were installed, the thermometer returned to normal operation. But don't leave just yet, the story doesn't end here. Most of us aren't always prepared with spare batteries, and that's the reality. So instead of relying only on replacements, I'm going to show you an alternative: how to recharge this very battery without a specialized charger in a way you can actually use when it matters. And I know you won't take my word for it, and you shouldn't. So instead of asking for trust, I'll let the numbers speak. We'll measure both batteries with a voltage tester, to show clearly that nothing here is staged or manipulated. With this new battery, the reading on the display comes back strong, a benchmark for the depleted battery to be measured against. As for the old battery, the contrast is obvious and expected. The display barely reacts, showing that the energy inside is completely drained. So that settles the question of transparency. No more words needed, let's move straight into what comes next. And in this next part, I'll use a small piece of sandpaper for the first gentle cleaning step, focusing on the positive and negative terminals of the battery, removing the oxidation layer that quietly builds up and interferes with proper contact and energy transfer. This is a power drill, but we can set that aside for now because what truly matters is the removable battery supplying it with power. Using this battery as a power source to recharge the coin cell actually makes perfect sense. You probably recognize these two items. I have a pair of leaf hinges, each made up of two separate leaves. The plan is to secure one leaf from each hinge onto the positive and negative slots of the drill battery. The remaining leaves should be opened out to about a 90-degree angle, not fully folded. Since I didn't prepare in advance today, I'll make use of the voltage tester probes as conductors instead. Because the connector tips are smaller than the holes on the leaf hinges, I came up with a simple fix: wrapping them with aluminum foil to increase the contact area and keep the connection to the power source stable. To secure the two probes onto the battery terminals, we'll need a bit of electrical tape, enough to hold the contacts firmly in place while keeping the setup safe and stable. With the amount of power this drill battery can deliver, only a few minutes of charging are needed. No longer than that, just enough to get the job done safely and effectively. The charging is done, so now I'll remove the tape and check how it turned out. When I touch the battery directly, I can feel a slight warmth, which suggests that this method is actually working. Not perfectly, perhaps, but certainly not ineffective. Before putting the coin battery back into the thermometer, I'll check it once more to see how effective this method has actually been. The result shows that the battery is almost fully charged, just slightly short of full capacity. In my estimation, letting it charge for another 2 minutes and 40 seconds should bring it all the way to full. What began with a silent thermometer didn't end with a quick assumption that it was broken and worthless. Instead, we chose to slow down, observe more carefully, and ask the right questions from the very beginning. We identified the cause first, verified it with real numbers, and only then moved toward a solution, step by step, grounded and deliberate, because a mistake at the start makes every effort afterward meaningless. That pause to inspect and think, often overlooked because it doesn't produce instant results, is actually what determines the entire direction of the outcome. This process reveals a simple truth. Most problems in everyday life aren't nearly as complex as we imagine. They only become complicated when we ignore the fundamentals and let haste dictate our decisions. A drained battery isn't the end of the story, it's simply a temporary state, and once you understand what's really happening, you can respond in a controlled and reasonable way. What truly matters here isn't that the thermometer works again, but the mindset behind the entire process. Choosing repair over replacement, verification over assumption, and patience over giving up too early. In daily life, countless objects are discarded not because they're beyond saving, but because we've grown used to replacing things faster than understanding them. If you've watched until this point, take a moment to look around and think about something you once set aside simply because it stopped working. Leave a comment and share that experience, or let me know what object you'd like to see examined, tested, or brought back to life next. And if you see value in understanding things before throwing them away, give this video a like and follow the channel so we can continue exploring these small but meaningful repair stories together.